Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Greatest Profession Podcast. On today's episode, we have Dr. Lindsay Knott. Dr. Lindsay Knott is a equine surgeon who practices up in Northern California. She is a 2017 graduate of the University of Tennessee. And if you're playing the home game, I am also a 2017 graduate of the University of Tennessee. We were classmates. But Lindsay has actually gone through, so she did an internship and then another internship and then a residency to, become an equine surgeon, which is not necessarily the most straightforward path in the veterinary medicine realm. And then when we recorded this in March. So about 9 months prior to that, she got her first actual job as a veterinarian, as a practicing veterinary specialist. So she, having just come out of it, has a very unique, uh, background basically of both equine and specialty equine, and then also having gone through that internship residency route really recently. And so a lot of what we talk about ends up kind of going down that route of how that was, and then making that transition, and then what she learned throughout that whole process. I'm not going to give too much away. As it turns out, we talk about it, and that's the conversation that follows. So that's what's in store for today's episode. Before we kind of get into it, I just wanted to once again thank everybody who has been listening. If you're listening right now, thank you for tuning in, and then also for sharing this amongst others. I will make a small plea if you haven't already. Please, either subscribe on whatever platform or on every platform, because why not? Do it, man. It's Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and Podchaser and wherever else it is, because these podcasts are everywhere. Just go ahead and just go crazy. Just go nuts. Why not? Subscribe. But go ahead and subscribe. If you can put a review out, that'd be great. Really just anything to kind of keep this going and building. And I definitely appreciate that. So just a quick plea for your support in that way. And again, thank you again for everyone out there who is tuning into these and listening. So with all of that, please enjoy my episode, my conversation with Dr. Lindsay Knott. I mean, I spent so much time on the road. And I guess we haven't talked about this in a long time, but
Yeah.
so when I think 2018, I quit my job in Chattanooga. And then after
Uh-huh.
that, I was just like traveling and trying to do relief and trying to,
Right. Yeah, I remember.
yeah. So it's just like, I felt like I was working nonstop for about 3.5 years, which I'm sure
Yeah.
you understand.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I do. Oh, I do.
Yeah. So, so
What's a
anyway,
weekend? A holiday? Those exist?
yeah, exactly.
How long has it
Exactly.
been since I've seen my
Yeah. How long has it been since you've seen your
family?
family?
Yeah. Recently has not been bad, but
Yeah.
anyway.
God, that's really tough. Are they all still up in the Northeast?
Yeah, so for the most part, like my brother and my sister are still in New York. My grandparents are still in New York. But my parents now live in South Carolina.
Oh,
Yeah.
why? What happened?
So they retired.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, I remember in
So,
Tennessee, it was a lot of people who were like retiring in Tennessee
mhm.
because it is. I mean, it's a good place to be. I can imagine
Yeah,
South Carolina similar.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know,
Do they like it?
they love it. They absolutely love it.
I mean, California is not like the worst place to be.
No, this is like I'm not slumming it by any means
Yeah,
over here.
right. Yeah, and like me in Colorado, it's like we're not we have no right to complain.
No, absolutely none. Absolutely none. I saw a thing the other day. It was probably like a TikTok something or other, and it was like every Californian right now is just like, this is too much rain. This is just so much rain. Like, what
Right.
are we gonna do with all this rain? Like, I almost bought an umbrella today. Like, like these are our problems right now, which is honestly not a problem. We needed the
Right.
rain.
It is funny. Gosh, now that you mentioned the umbrella thing, like when I was in Chicago, someone bought me an umbrella I'd lived there for like 3 years. I'm like,
Yeah.
"What the hell am I supposed to do with this thing?"
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like
Like, you
yeah,
carry it around? Like, what do you
right.
do with it?
Like, where? Where do I put it? Like, I always hold it?
Right.
So yeah, the umbrella thing. And you've been there for how long?
I moved here middle of July, so, like, 8,
Middle
9
of
months?
July.
Yeah,
Cool.
something
It
like
sounds like
that.
you're liking it too.
I'm loving it.
That's
I
cool.
have no complaints.
Yeah.
It's so much better than residency. Literally anything's better than residency, but this is also very good.
Do you know how long you're gonna be there, or is it just kinda, like, open-ended till I don't
It's
wanna be here anymore?
Yeah, it's whatever I want it to be. Like, it's
Cool.
the first time it's crazy as, like, a grown adult in their 30s, like, it is the first time in my life I have had my own choices of where I'm allowed to be and
Right.
where I wanna work, where in the country I wanna be. Like, I
Yeah.
have literally never up until this point had that
Yeah.
complete freedom of choice.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that makes sense because everything before then was just based on where you got in to some
Right.
extent. Like,
Yeah.
you got to choose of the places that you got in, like, to whatever, undergrad, vet school, etcetera,
Yeah.
internship, residency, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's a limited choice.
But and I mean, like, the further up the ladder you go, right, like, the more limited choices become. So, like,
Yeah.
my first internship, yeah, kind of had choices. My second internship was through the match, so, like, that was not a
Mhm.
choice, you go where they send you.
Right.
Residency, again, the match, like, you go where they send you, like,
Yeah. So then why California? Or was it this place? Was it, like, California, or was it, like, a mix?
all the above. All the
Yeah.
above. You know, like, there's tons of horses in this area. It's a huge mix of horses.
Mhm.
Um, and it's stunning. Like, why would you not want to live here? It's everything from, like, a personal perspective that I want. It's like beautiful weather, sunny, warm, the outdoors, like anything I could want.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've, like, met people and have, like, a friend group and things at this point?
You know, like, that is the hardest part of moving so often.
Yeah,
And I'm sure you've experienced that too.
definitely.
And, like,
I ask because I want tips.
yeah, right? Like, I've just been it's hard for me, it's not a thing I'm comfortable doing, like, just putting myself out there being like, "Hey, looking for friends,"
Right.
like,
Just
"I
just
promise I'm
standing
not a
at, like, public
psycho." Yeah,
squares.
like,
Yeah.
"I'm not gonna, like, drag you into the woods and kill you, I promise." Like,
Right, right, right.
um, but I feel like the first 6 months anywhere are the hardest, just because you're the new kid.
Mhm.
People have to learn to trust you, like, from a work perspective. And then, like, most of the people I become friendly with are from work. So,
Right.
like, because that is where I'm exposed to the most people on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then, like, just trying to do different things,
Mhm.
like, put myself a little bit out of my comfort zone. See what
Yeah.
happens.
How's that going?
Meh. you know?
Right.
But
I remember I did when I was living in Raleigh, we tried to do these, like, meetups,
uh-huh.
and it's just, like, they were fun and everything to an extent, but it's just,
Yeah.
like, I always felt socially awkward.
Yes.
There's something about an event where and I guess I probably feel the same way about, like, online dating stuff. It's like
Yeah.
there's something about, like, the purpose of this is to like each other.
Right.
It's like, "We're all getting together so you can be friends." It's like, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I know exactly what you mean.
yeah.
And then you feel bad when you're like, yeah, this is not, and even if it's just from, like, a friend perspective, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, like, I really,
Yeah.
like, I want to like you, but, like,
Right.
I just don't, like, I don't have anything
Yeah,
to, like,
yeah.
contribute to this.
Yeah. There
Like,
was a couple God, I know exactly what you mean because there was a couple in, like, the Raleigh area where I
yeah.
felt like it's like they were nice, but it's just like for whatever reason, it's just like every time that we went to go hang out with them, we were like
Yeah.
dreading it a little bit.
Yeah. Totally.
It's like I don't know, it's just not working out, and it's like how do you break up with a semi friend?
Right.
Like
Right. How do you break up with an acquaintance? Like,
right, right, yeah, exactly. Man,
but
yeah, we're trying
adulting's
now.
hard, man. Like,
Yeah.
at least, but okay, from, like, baby perspective, like, you're
Right.
gonna have that as, like, hey, meet my new puppy. Like,
Yes. It's like going to the dog park, but with kids.
Right, exactly, exactly. You gotta go to all, like, the kid play groups and, like,
Yeah.
you gotta socialize them early,
Yes. Yeah,
maybe.
exactly. I mean, we've definitely talked about that. I just feel like, the people, because I'm, having kids a little bit late, and I just feel like a lot of the people who are having kids are like younger than me.
Yeah, I
And
feel
so
that.
for that same thing, it's weird to like kind of walk over and be like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Right.
I'm an old fella. I have no friends, but I do have this child.
Right. Let's bond.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
feel
guess
like
you.
there are many parallels of, like, early parenthood and residency, or at least,
Mhm.
like, what I know from friends that have had, like, that had young kids. It's like sleeplessness, you're bonding over the bullshit, and,
Right.
like, just general, like, doing the best you can,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, and you bond over that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
like, you know,
Gosh. Where did you do your residency?
Michigan State.
Michigan State.
Yeah.
Oh. Is that in Lansing? Am I making
Mhm.
this up?
Nope, you're right.
That's wild. Okay, I just went to my whole family, my dad's side of the family is in Michigan, and, like,
Yeah.
my mom, when she came to the country, they went to Kalamazoo, Michigan, as,
Uh-huh.
like, their jumping off point.
Yep.
So we actually just went back there for a wedding. It was an awesome wedding, 80s, 90s themed, wedding.
Nice.
But, like, the state of Michigan, I guess, was frozen, so there was no hotels anywhere.
Yeah,
So we stayed in Lansing
yeah.
and drove to
It's
Kalamazoo,
like
which
a
is
45-minute drive.
it's like an hour and 10.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't good.
No.
Lansing, gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that university does have, though, like, there's this, it's like a botanical garden or something. I don't know,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like you
Mhm.
it's really cool.
It is, yeah, it's actually directly across from the vet school.
Oh, is it really?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yeah.
My dad and I went there, he was thinking about doing a writing program there, and we were
Uh-huh.
walking around, and I'm like, "How do they have all these plants here?
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
this?"
In the summer, campus is actually really pretty,
Yeah.
but, I mean, that's short-lived.
Right, yeah, yeah, it's Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan. But yeah, that botanical garden, actually, I have taken several naps in the grass, just, like, run away, and,
Nice.
like, I'm like, "I
Yeah.
have 30 minutes, like, I'm gonna run away and take a nap in the grass."
Yeah.
Like, I'll run back across the street.
God, that's I did wanna ask you a little bit about, I mean, I have a lot of questions about sort of, like, the kinda equine experience in itself,
Yeah,
but,
let's
like,
do it.
just in general,
Mhm,
I mean, just I suppose more specifically about, like, internships and residencies and things like that.
mhm.
I how was your experience just from, like, a general
Yeah.
perspective?
It My first internship was rough. My first internship was in Texas in private practice, large scale private practice.
Okay.
Very, very busy. There were 5 of us, if that gives any perspective.
Mhm.
And we probably needed 6 or 7.
Oh, wow.
Um, so 3 surgeons, 1 internist. Like, we were very busy. Um, and you were treated as such.
Hmm.
Like, you were treated as the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
Um, I probably worked on average anywhere between 80 to 100 hours a week.
Yikes.
Um, and was on call always. I got 1 day off a month. It was rough. That was rough.
I I do feel like when I talk to people who do equine that that seems to be relatively like a common thing about like equine internships.
Mhm.
Um I mean internships in general like I think are kind of like that. I think small animal has done a lot to maybe get away from that, but like in
Mhm.
equine it does really feel like it's like this true hierarchical experience where you're just like at the bottom and you know that you're at the bottom.
Yeah, and it does depend on where you do an internship too. So my second internship I did at LSU,
Mhm.
and absolutely loved it. So I didn't match for a residency after my first internship, which for large animal surgery is like to be expected. At this point, you're expected to do 2 to 3 internships and have research
Right.
by the time you get a residency.
Okay.
So, like, it's uncommon to match after a first internship, at this point anyway. My second internship, I went to LSU. That was through the match, and I adored LSU.
Huh.
Like, I needed LSU. Like, I
Wow.
was beat
Huh.
down so badly in my first internship, and, like, I'm not a I mean, you know me pretty well, but,
Right, right,
like,
right,
I'm not the kind of person that takes things sitting down or
right,
gives up, and, like,
right.
it beat me pretty hard.
So what was the difference between the 2?
Um, so private practice and academia do have their differences.
Sure.
Um, at the way that the LSU in general, large animal, is like a big family. So like I before I even started, I was invited to like the anesthesiologist's house for a pool party. Like, like
Get out your floaties, we're gonna
right,
bond.
exactly. They're like, "Welcome to Baton Rouge. Like, here's a freaking daiquiri. Like, I don't even know you yet, but come on over. We're having a barbecue and a pool party." Like,
That's fun.
that's
Cool.
just how they are.
Yeah.
And it's very much a community family feel there. On like the large animal side, I don't really know much about small, but um, and like they all truly care about like they don't care what position you hold there, like everyone cares about your learning.
That's
So that
yeah.
was made a huge difference and like really changed my confidence
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
was like, oh, I'm not a piece of shit. I do know things. I'm not a terrible doctor. I'm not a terrible human. Like I'm
Yeah.
not completely inept. Like
Right.
so.
That's wild. So, like, okay. So then the first internship,
Hmm.
I mean, they made you feel that way.
Oh, 100%. I was told that.
This is the crazy things about internships to me is that like the when I think of them as their ideal experience, I think about it more as like the second bit, right? Isn't the
Hmm.
idea that it's like this is a part of the process, but we should be supporting you along because the goal
Hmm.
is for you to learn. Like I don't know. I mean, I feel like most people shut down when they're being told that they're garbage.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
What?
Absolutely.
Huh. And do you feel like that was the experience for every intern at that other place?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
is that like a private practice thing, or is that this specific thing, or is
Um,
it?
it is. I mean, no, not necessarily. It is more common in private practice. Academia is a little bit more regulated. My experience at LSU though is a little bit of a golden nugget.
Yeah. LSU,
Um,
I've heard that about LSU though.
yeah.
People who go there, I actually just talked to my friend Jess who went there,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just like every time that I went to conferences as a vet student, you'd
Yeah.
go and it would just be like, oh, who are those people who are having a great time?
Yeah.
LSU.
LSU. Yeah. Like we would have campus tailgates. Like on the vet like there was a like a quad in the center of the vet hospital campus.
Yeah.
And like there would be like Friday afternoon tailgate, like beer and pizza like in the vet school.
Nice.
Like administration would be like hauling in kegs,
That's
like that's just how it is.
that's
And
funny.
it's like beers with the dean. Okay, cool. Let's go have beers with the dean.
That's awesome.
So it's just that LSU is a little bit unique. I
Yeah.
experienced like both ends of the spectrum with
Right,
my
right,
two
right.
internships. And then residency is residency. Like it was like MSU is like it's a good program. Like a lot of people don't know about it. Like it taught me a lot. But resident like you are not no one holds your hands, right? Like no one's going to
Mhm.
teach you. Everything that you learn is from your own learning. Like you got to do the research, you got to do the reading, you have to practice. Like, no
Yeah.
one's going to just hand it to you and let you do things until they think you're going to be successful at it.
And you have to do a lot of like your own work
Yeah.
beforehand to get to the point
Right.
where they might think that you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is that like a yeah, I mean, is that just how residencies are structured? Again, I don't know like
Yeah,
anything
for the most part, I would say some are different. So like some programs are like you are held on a super duper duper tight leash for like the first 2 years, and then literally like first day of third year, they're like, "Okay, bye," and give you
right.
no support,
Yeah.
and like you're just off on your own, like hoping you fly,
Right.
and you
Yeah.
eventually do, right? Because like we've all worked really hard.
Sure.
And we're
Yeah.
not the types of people that are going to let ourselves fall.
Yeah.
For the most part, you just have to take care of yourself. And if you're
Yeah.
lucky enough that I had fantastic resident mates. So there were 3 surgery resident mates, 3 medicine residents. And so all 6 of us got along really well and took care of each other. And I was lucky enough that my 3 years there, that was the case pretty much the entire time.
Mhm.
So like we just took care of each other,
Yeah.
like, hey, I was up all night last night. I'm supposed to be on call again tonight. Like, I haven't been home in over 48 hours. Like, do you mind taking my primary tonight? Like,
Right.
absolutely, I'll take your primary tonight. And like, don't worry about it, and that's not necessarily the case everywhere.
Sure.
Like, we guarded each other's free time. So like the way that our on call worked was that there was primary on call and secondary on call. So the secondary essentially came in if you were just like swamped and primary couldn't take care of it.
Mhm.
And we did everything in our power to prevent the seniors from calling in secondary,
Right.
just to
Right.
protect them. You know what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean? Like, you don't need to be here. I got it. I'm already here. I'll get it done. Like,
yeah.
prioritizing and triaging,
Yeah. I
you know,
mean, it sounds like, I mean, in general, right? Like that's about protecting your people,
right.
which is something that, I mean, even it sounds like your first internship did better than, say, I'm sorry, your second internship did better than your first internship,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and then, and then yeah, like somewhere in the middle,
Mhm.
was your, your residency in a way.
Mhm.
I wonder, I mean, because I feel like that with a lot of the, when I go to certain hospitals, like you can feel that some hospitals are really good about
Yeah.
protecting each other,
Yeah.
and then some hospitals are not. And then there's like this, or the doctors at those hospitals are not. And then there's like this giant wheel mechanism of how like the hospital runs
Yeah.
that like is kind of outside of that.
Right.
I, yeah, I can imagine that in academia, there's, it's like it's difficult to change how things are done,
Yeah. Incredibly.
right? So all you really have power over is like what you do with the people next to
Hmm.
you.
Yeah.
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 Do you feel like is there anything that you learn from like I mean some of the lesson from the first bit, right? Being
Hmm.
treated like garbage.
Hmm.
I mean, the benefit of that, right, is that you have that experience so that like you might be able to then do something different when it's your turn, kind of
Yeah.
higher up on the totem pole.
Yeah.
Like how do you feel like do you feel like you were able to change that cycle a little bit, or how do you feel like you were with like students and interns and things?
Yeah. So that is actually like a very excellent point. The biggest thing I learned from my first, as like an umbrella, from my first internship was how I don't want to treat people.
Mm,
That is ever. I never, ever, ever want to make someone feel the way that I felt.
yeah.
And it has absolutely for sure shaped how I am as a teacher, because that's also been a huge part of my job the last 5 years of life is teaching.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it has that, and something my mom has always said to me because it's something I have a very hard time with. You cannot hold other people to the same expectations at which you hold yourself.
Yeah.
So, like, I have extremely high expectations of myself. Like, that is very clear, right? In what I'm doing with my life, like, that is very clear.
Right. 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 Yeah.
um, and not everyone like has those expectations, right? Like, not everyone needs to be perfect on the first try or even wants to be perfect on the first try, and that's okay.
Yeah. And
Like,
especially when it comes to students too, like if it's people who are like small animal working in equine or whatever, having a little bit of grace.
in all honesty, some of my best students have been small animal.
I believe that actually.
Yeah. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it truly does not matter. Critical thinking is critical thinking.
Right.
Like, 1,000-pound horse, 10-pound chihuahua, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, um, but yeah, it taught me a lot. Um, I struggled quite a bit when I first got to LSU because I was like, in terms of like interactions with students, because I was like, in survival mode.
Mm,
Like, it took a while to learn how to not be that way anymore.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So I mean, it took me several years to learn that.
Interesting.
Um, like, how to have not so much of like an aggressive immediate reaction to something that like
Yeah.
didn't happen exactly perfect the first time,
Right.
because that was how I was, like, that was just so ingrained into how I was like raised in the profession, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've finally gotten to a place where I mean, I enjoy teaching again because it's not so much of like an anxiety driven thing anymore.
Mm, yeah.
um And like, I mean, I love teaching our interns. I have 2 interns and 5 residents now.
I don't know.
I honestly don't know. Like, it keeps changing. So
Do you know what, like, the turning point was, or, like, how you I mean, I guess if you were to be able to, like, later you were to be able to intervene then on your earlier you
mhm.
and be like, "Hey, so by the way, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah." Like, how what is that realization? And I guess, like, for those who
yeah.
might be in that earlier phase now, like, what advice would you give them?
Go to therapy.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because it's essentially like PTSD,
Yeah.
like, and I'm not even joking, like, go to therapy, because
Sure.
that's the only thing that made me, like, just thinking through it, like
I mean, you're yeah, like, don't be reactionary, like, give you
right,
tools about potentially being able to deal with the situation as it arises. Yeah,
yeah,
don't take your problems out on somebody else.
right, right.
Yeah.
Like, you know, no one, like, no matter what the situation is, no one deserves to feel like a piece of shit on the bottom of your shoe.
Yeah.
Like, no one's accomplishing anything from that.
Right.
Especially like in what we do. Like, the patient doesn't benefit from that. The person learning in the situation doesn't benefit from that. And the clinician doesn't benefit from that, because it's going to take 10 times longer to get whatever you wanted to get done, because whoever's helping you is going to be traumatized.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I just have like there's one specific circumstance that just like I will never forget. It was in ISO with like probably a 4 to 6 month old foal that we were doing an upper airway scope on, and everything needed to be sterile if you were going to get culture and like all this stuff. So I had everything set up. I had no help. It was just me, and I had the weanling sedated, and I'd like got a twitch on it, pass the scope, the clinician shows up, he starts doing his thing. And then it's literally, I'm holding the instruments, staying sterile, and restraining the foal.
Mm,
So I'm like, I have no extra fingers left
right.
and in my hands. And the weanling like jerked its head, because they're sedated, they're not anesthetized. He like
Right.
jerked his head, the scope fell out of its nose from like the pull back and jerk.
Mhm.
And the clinician I was with had a hissy fit, threw the entire tray across the aisle,
Wow.
and like blamed me for it, when I should have had like at least one extra person helping, because I literally had no more hands, and like threw everything on the ground and stormed off. I'm like, okay, well, we still need to get this done. And I need to go get everything sterile all over again and get all new instruments, all new equipment. Like, we could have simply
That's
just like
wild.
not done that and like sterilized the end of the scope real quick. I
Mhm.
could have changed gloves and like started over, instead of
Yeah.
like another like, okay, we're gonna delay this another hour because we have to fix everything. We could have just taken like a 5 minute pause.
Yeah.
Just like it, it doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah. When you look at the clinicians, or I guess the people who are in the like, that person or the people
Yeah.
who are in like those mentorship roles, like, did you I don't know, do you have any window into like how they turned into that, or how like that happened, or what types of support that they have in their
Yeah, I don't
lives?
know. I truly don't know. And like my biggest goal right now, and I think I'm actually, to give myself a small pat on the back, doing a pretty good job at it, is to not become that type of person.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
Sure.
and um, like it's one of the things that I really liked about the clinic I'm at right now, is that when I came to visit, like everyone was just smiling,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
and wanted to introduce themselves to me and wanted to like hear about what I'm doing, what my interests are, and like wanted to know the person that they were potentially going to be hiring.
Right. Yeah, because that's like the thing that ultimately, you got
Right.
to work with this person for
Right.
ad nauseum.
Exactly. And like I was probably here maybe about like maybe 4-ish months. And my current boss, he like emailed me something, and he was like, just wanted to let you know, he's like, you're doing a great job, and like, I'm really glad we hired you. you fit in really well with like this very quirky bunch or something like
Mm,
that. And it's
nice.
so true. Like we are such a quirky bunch.
That's awesome. Did you
So,
have trepidation, like, walking coming into, like, this first job after being in, residency and internship and all that kinda stuff that would turn
oh,
into the same thing?
yeah, yes, actually, and I had a conversation about it with my receptionist at Michigan State, who I like adore. We called her the resident mom,
Nice.
because she was like everyone's mother. That I was like, saying how that I was nervous and whatever, and she turns around, she's like, "Linz, you know what? Like, yeah, if it ends up not being great, you leave.
Right.
You have that choice. You can just leave." And it was like a light bulb moment. Because literally never before in my life have I just been able to remove myself from a situation that I no longer wanted to be a part of.
Right. Yeah, not
In a
without.
professional manner, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Because you can always walk out of you can stop doing any of these things at any time, but it's
right,
like, if you stop halfway through a residency, now it's like, do you have to start over? Who's gonna accept you? Blah, blah,
right,
blah, so all that's working against you.
yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
And
That's awesome.
it's such a simple concept. Like, you can just walk away.
Right.
And I distinctly remember it. I'm like standing up in reception and I'm like leaning against a filing cabinet, eating some sort of candy that's probably ages old, like out of a drawer from somewhere
Right.
because I hadn't eaten yet.
The candy drawer.
Yeah,
Just,
exactly, exactly.
yeah.
Everyone has the candy drawer.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I was like, "Oh, yeah." You're so right. She's like, "Yeah, yeah, I know I'm right, but like you
Yeah.
need to appreciate that
Yeah.
that is a possibility.
Right.
Like that
Yeah.
is and that's okay. Like if you don't jive with it, okay, it's a first job. Like might not work out well. Like
Right.
move on."
Yeah. I always think about, I mean, the beauty about what I'm like doing the relief thing is
Mhm,
that like you see that in real time. The stakes are not the same, right? So it's like
mhm.
if I don't want to go back to a place or if I feel like it's just not a good fit for whatever
Yeah,
reason, I just don't go.
right.
I don't pick up any more shifts there. Um And it's like, yeah, I think that that is actually true for everybody. It's
Mhm.
just the stakes are different.
Yeah,
It's like if you don't like a job, if you don't, whatever, you are choosing to go
mhm.
every single day.
Yep.
It's just like what's worse? Like,
Yeah,
it's like what's the worst of the situation? Do you keep showing up to this thing that like may not be ideal, or do you like go out and try to find something else? And like that's difficult, blah blah blah. But you're
yeah,
choosing nonetheless.
yeah. 100%.
Yeah, that's a I mean, it's good that you found a place. I mean, the first job is a difficult job for
Yeah,
a lot of reasons.
yeah,
And it's good that you found a place where you feel like you fit.
yeah. Which
Is
is a
this
very nice feeling too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Cuz it's not like this is a short journey.
No.
you know.
God, I feel like I've aged like 20 years in the last 5, like
Oh yeah. I look back on when we did that senior roast video.
yeah.
There's that I don't know if you remember, but there was, like, that monologue I did. It was, like, Ode to the Donut, that little Shakespearean
Mhm.
monologue thing, and it's, like, the light was there, and it's recorded, and it's just all this hair was so black. It was
Yeah.
just black, 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 black. Like, 2 years after I left, it was just, like, the ER and the, road and, like, personal stuff. It was just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's a lot of white."
Yeah.
It's just everywhere.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I
I
get it.
I mean, I'm not gray, like, thank God I'm not there yet, but,
Sure.
like, I have lost probably, like, 30% of my hair.
Oh,
Like
really?
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
that is
Mine's thinning too. It's up
yeah.
here. It's like luckily it's curly, so
Yeah. Thankfully, it's slowed down a little bit now that my cortisol levels are starting to drop,
Right,
but,
right.
like
Yeah, you're not just removing whole chunks of your hair
literally
every shit.
handfuls. Oh my god, I would be crying in the shower because 'cause I'd be just, like, pulling out handfuls of hair out of my head, and I'm just like, "I can't, like, just please make it stop."
So then where you are now, I mean, is this like is this something that little Lindsay, like little girl Lindsay
Uh-huh.
thought this would be?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Like, I mean, it's pretty darn close.
Oh,
It's
really?
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, like, I I have, like, a little adorable cottage in the woods that I love, and I am, like I mean, I'm a surgeon, which is what I always wanted to do. Like I
Yeah.
get to work with horses every day, and I have a really cool team of people that I get to work with. We have a whole, I mean, we have a bunch of specialists. Like it's awesome, and
Yeah.
it's great. And I try to appreciate the moments where I'm like walking through the hospital and stuff and being like, I'm doing it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
That's true. And I think that we forget, like we come to that new normal so
Hmm.
quickly where like this now becomes baseline. You forget that actually this is the dream.
Yeah.
This is the
100%. Absolutely. It's so true. And like, I am still very, very close with Emma and Adrian, two of our
mm,
classmates.
mhm.
And we talk like on a very regular basis.
Oh,
And
great.
like we're doing it. We're all doing it.
Yeah.
Like it's really cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, to see your friends doing it too, like
Yeah.
where, people I don't know, that's always the thing that makes me the happiest is to look around and be like, "Oh, like look how satisfied like they are."
Yeah.
You know?
It's just
Uh,
super cool. And then like Laura and Clayton with their clinic, like that's freaking awesome.
right,
Like
right. Yeah, everyone's
we
doing a
we
pretty
all
good job.
made it.
Right.
And it like those moments where where it occurs to me, like it's really cool,
Yeah.
you know?
It's
But
probably a good idea to let that occur to me more often.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, when you first started doing this, I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And then I was like, "That is such a Matashudo thing to do." Which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I've been, like, thinking about and been planning on doing it, quote, unquote, "for a long time," and
Yeah.
it's just there was a point where I just said, "I can't keep planning on something and then
Yeah.
never doing it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die this way."
Right.
I need it doesn't matter if it's, like, perfect, it doesn't matter it's just like me writing a song. It's like, if it's not
Mhm.
perfect, I'm not gonna show it to anybody. It's like, it's never gonna be perfect, that's not how life
No.
works.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
doing the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is. You're right, and I'm happy that I'm actually doing a thing, and then also doing it like allows you to then figure out like what's next. It,
Totally.
yeah, be it personal or otherwise. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So then, I am curious, like, how young were you when you decided, hey, you know what, horses forever, and I want to be inside of them, cutting them up.
And I wanna be shoulder deep every
Right,
day.
right.
Um,
Which is, like, quite a feat. You're a tall person,
yeah.
you have long arms, getting shoulder deep.
Yeah, I we call them my and this isn't a thing for like many years at this point. My go-go gadget arms, like I can reach things that many people could never dream of. Like,
Yeah, I'm touching the adrenal gland right now.
yeah, no, oh,
So
like palm on a left kidney, NBD, like absolutely,
yeah.
like not a problem. Like,
So
um,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I started with horses when I was 2, so like literally always.
okay. So your entire memory
Yeah, it's
is
just
you and
horses. Yeah. I mean, I think I wanted to be a vet, probably like conscious recognition that I wanted like that was a thing and I wanted to do it probably around like 10 or so,
okay.
like somewhere around there. And then I mean, I started riding with like ambulatory large animal vets around 15 probably.
Okay.
Um
Wow.
and then and worked with like a whole bunch of different ambo vets. Um, and
So
then
when you were 10 though, like
yeah,
what was your picture of what a veterinarian was? If you
yeah,
remember, I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
barely remember my
No,
thoughts at 10.
totally.
My
Yeah,
thoughts
it's
at
like
10 were like, "Where's the Capri Sun?
yeah,
Can I finish this Domino's pizza by myself?"
yeah, yeah. So like my image of a vet was like the vet that comes in the big white truck, like "I'm here to help you, cow," like that
Yeah,
exact thing. Because I rarely go on farm calls, but I'm in the
yeah.
big white truck, and I'm like,
Right, right,
"I'm here to help your horse," like I still do it. And yeah, like that was I didn't really have an appreciation that like some like a horse hospital was a thing because
Mm,
most of my exposure
mm,
was like, general practice.
yeah,
And then as I got a little bit older, I like then became to realize that yeah, like hospitals are a thing. Because like you have a horse that on the farm that colics, up there it goes off to the
right,
hospital. So
right.
And then I started getting a little bit more exposure to like that kind of thing. And went a couple different hospitals and kind of just like volunteered and whatnot. And then probably like in vet, I mean, always found surgery cool, but like my really only exposure to surgery was small animal,
Mm,
you know? Because like no one is freaking letting in a teenager that's not even in vet school, like into an OR with a horse on the table. Like,
mm,
no.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah. Um, and I always thought surgery was really cool, but like, yeah, vet school was like the first real exposure to like equine surgery or large animal surgery because I freaking love like large animal surgery as a whole.
Yeah.
Um, actually I would say probably about 10% of my practice is still like goats, sheep, alpacas,
Oh,
that kind of
cool.
thing. We
Yeah.
like 90% is large is horses, but like we still see some small ruminant type things and camelids.
That's pretty
Um,
cool. What
I
about
I
like what
yeah.
is it about surgery? As somebody who like doesn't really like going into the
Yeah.
ER or OR.
I don't know. I just love it. Like I genuinely like I am so happy when I'm in the OR. Like it's just so much fun. Like I got my music going. I'm like dancing. And I'm like everyone and no joke. I'm like people like coming and helping in my like in the OR with me because they're like, yeah, Lindsay's just fun. I'm just like singing, bopping along, maybe like as I'm closing, twerking a little bit, you know. It has
Dr. Nah,
happened.
watch
I'm not
out for
gonna
your
lie.
sterile field.
Yeah. Hey, it's not even close to what I'm doing, so we're
That's
good.
funny.
Yeah.
So is it
Yeah.
like the task? I mean, none of that stuff can you do like while talking to an owner, I
Right.
suppose,
Yeah.
like working appointments. Yeah, is it like is it the experience of being in there and just sort of being isolated from the world, or is it like the tactile thing itself of
Both.
surgery?
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
No, like I genuinely like surgery is just like it's just like a lot of it is or some of it is thinking on your feet, right?
Mm,
Like you don't know what you got until you open it up.
sure.
And you can plan, sure. There are things like elective things you can plan ahead of time, but like more emergent things you don't know until you're in it, right? So
Right.
like and then you just go. Um, I don't know. I just really enjoy it. I can't necessarily I would probably have to think on it more to get the exact like emotion and thought that is like the driving
Yeah.
force, but
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
just
it's
like
like it
it's just a good feeling.
yeah. It's hard to know why we enjoy anything, especially when it's like that kind of ingrained in you.
Yeah.
Like if you were to ask me why I like sitting on cliffs and looking at the Pacific Ocean, I'm like, I have no idea except that it just feels
It just feels good. Yeah.
yeah, it just feels like something that is me
It's just right.
already.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing an action that is it's already been ingrained into me. It
Right.
just yeah, it just feels right.
Yep. Yep. 100%.
Hmm,
And that was like honestly because like I said, like I just liked surgery. There was a point in vet school that I thought about. I was like, well, I want horses to be a part of my life, but I don't want it to become just my job.
right.
So I was like, so do I become a small animal surgeon? And then I
It's a good
have
question.
horses on the side, like
Yeah.
and in all honesty, small animal surgery is a much better life, like a way better quality of life. You can work part time,
Hmm.
like you get paid way more. Like
It's a lot of
it's
TPLOs, but yeah.
yeah. But, like we have our things like that too,
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, but at the end of the day, like a day where I had my hands on horses was just like a better day. It
Oh,
didn't
that's
matter how
interesting.
shitty the day was. Like
Yeah.
a shitty day in small animal was a shitty fucking day.
Yeah.
A shitty day in large animal was made so much better by just like putting my hands on a horse.
That's interesting. That's really cool. Yeah, because that's the question, right? And I always think about this with people who, especially in vet school, I'm always like, why does anyone want to do anything? I don't know why
Mhm.
I'm here. I don't know why. But
Mhm.
like, it's just like with if you want to do like large animal stuff, like do you want to just have cattle or do you want to like work cattle?
Right.
And I mean, that's such an interesting, and so I've thought the same thing about equine. It's like
Mhm.
there's a lot of people, a lot of girls, like there's a lot of little horse girls, right? Who like, at some point have to kind of make that decision if they're in
Yeah.
vet school.
Yeah.
Do I want to work with horses or do I want to just have them in my life?
Right.
That's fascinating. So, just any day being around a horse, because you're right, like, life gets in the way, and so if you have it where it's just on the side, like, yeah, maybe you have one, maybe you're gonna, like, feed it on your property or whichever, because you can pay for that property that's got a bigger pasture now because you're
Yeah.
making more money as a
Right.
small animal surgeon,
Yeah.
but it's different.
Yeah. It's totally different.
Huh.
Um, but yeah. So, I mean, I'm not sad about my choice. Like,
Yeah, sure. That's awesome.
yeah.
So then what do you feel like I mean, it sounds like you've been around it for a long time and like
Mhm.
moving in this direction for a long time. And presumably there were things like along the way that maybe you had to sacrifice or whatever. I mean, like are there things that you wish that you had done more that you weren't able to do because you were going down this path?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's not like from a personal perspective, it's not been easy.
Mm,
Um, I have had to walk away from like significant relationships um
yeah.
several times. That has been really hard. I have not consistently seen my family in 10 years. Um,
Why walk away from relationships? Like why
um,
did you have to?
yeah, most people I would say don't understand this profession. Um, like it's hard to explain to somebody like that. Um, hey, I'm on call tonight. I'm probably gonna get like there's an 80% chance I'm gonna get called. I'm gonna get up and I'm not gonna come back.
Mm,
Or hey, like you can't go to dinner tonight because I'm on call. Or what like whatever the case may be, or like, hey, we had these plans tonight, but I'm gonna have to be here a lot later than I anticipated. Like 5 o'clock is not the end of the day for me. Like I'm probably lucky if I get home by 9 tonight.
right.
Like
Yeah.
it's not easy on another person. I get
Yeah.
that. It's not a super attractive lifestyle to want to be a part of. And I haven't found a person that wants to deal with it yet.
I mean,
No.
especially in like the time that you're talking about, which is like vet school,
Yeah,
internship, residency.
right. I move a ton, like, and that is like that is primarily the reason why like relationships have ended. Like they have ended because I'm leaving,
Right.
and like they have their life and they don't want to leave that. I get that. That's fine. Not the relationship for me, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if that is something though, because some of that's going to change. I mean, moving forward,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in a way, it has to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no one can live like an intern or a resident forever.
Yeah.
Um, But part of that too, I mean, as you move forward, like to your point, it ends up being a choice to some extent.
Hmm.
Like there is the, extenuating circumstances of like, you have to be called in sometimes. Like
Yep.
I know a surgeon who he started his practice. He's been on call for 25 years.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. But he like shares call and,
Yeah.
there's some piece of it and he's getting out and he's not, 70. Right. So
Right.
like he's a little bit
Yeah, and I
younger.
have finally reached a place where like I'm 50% on call now and I'm only on call for surgeries. So
Right.
that is a new thing.
In a way, it's like this there is some level of choice. Like, yeah, there's the extenuating circumstance bit where it's like you said, like you're
Hmm.
gonna be on call because that's the name of the job, right? But and some days you'll have to stay late and those types of things. But like
Hmm.
over time, you are I think that that's something that we sort of end up choosing. That we've all known those
Yeah.
practitioners who are like, in their 50s and they're still there at 9 p.m. It's like that's what the
Yes.
job requires.
Yes. And it's not. I don't want to be that person.
Right.
And I have watched, I mean, like, I have watched plenty of people do it to themselves.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that person.
Yeah. Which I mean is a hard thing to like put your foot down as like the new person too.
Yeah. But I've honestly been very lucky in that, like, the clinic I'm at very much supports that.
Yeah.
Um, it's like when you're done, you leave. Like if you finish up early for the day, cool, see you later. Like
Mm,
you're not on call tonight, so bye. So that's great. And that they very much support that. Um,
that's awesome.
so yeah.
And a big part of it is finding the right team, finding the
Yeah.
right environment to allow you to make those decisions for
Right.
your own life.
Yeah.
Have you had to like combat a little bit of like the momentum of, internship, residency, vet school, like having to do this all the time and not having, an outside life?
Yeah.
there is some pattern in that, and like now you have the ability to like, have you had to forcibly force to like go home?
Yeah, yeah. The go home part is honestly not the hard part for me. It's more so when someone's like, "Oh, what are your hobbies?"
Right.
And I'm like, "What are those?" Um, my dog?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
my my
Just
lifeline, my dog?
yeah. Just
um,
keeping up with the literature count because
yeah, exactly. Like scrolling through vet search. So that's been like just trying to be kind to myself.
Hmm.
Like learning how to be kind to myself.
Yeah.
Because for a very long time that has been very challenging, and um and I haven't had the time to like actually learn what my interests are, like outside of work,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Um and like I learned the other day, I don't want to play critical thinking board games. I don't. I don't. Don't want to do it.
I do this all day.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like Uno and Jenga.
Jenga.
That's it.
Oh my god. Had a heated game of Jenga a couple weeks ago. It was like me, two other vets, and like one of those vets' boyfriends. And we like everyone was like a potlucky style dinner. And my friend whose house we were at, he was like, "Oh, I have a Jenga." And we're like, "Let's play Jenga." We probably played Jenga for like 2 hours.
Wow.
Heated. It was heated. That's what I'm into.
I want to get emotional, but over simple games.
Exactly. Things that don't actually require actual brain use.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I'm trying to like get out more. I mean, the difficulty with where my career has been up to this point is even as I've been pulling back, I've still
uh
done a lot of traveling
yeah,
and then with when we're like expecting like, well, I'm actually going to work a lot more beforehand so that I can take more time off
sure.
afterwards. But anyway, so like I haven't been out and exploring the way that we wanted to.
Right.
So that's like my goal kind of moving forward. But
Yeah.
but I do love it, man. When we get out, that's the cool thing about Colorado. To your point, right? Like
Yeah.
10 minutes away, 30 minutes
Exactly.
away. It's just like trails and trails and trails and trails.
100%. And it's yeah, and I mean, thankfully I've been able to like that is going out and just being outside, going hiking, the outdoors in general, like that is a thing that's always been consistent, and like I'm so appreciative that I'm now in a place that like is so easy.
Yeah.
It's just so easy. So,
Yeah. Which, like, good for that's a hard thing to do too. It's so easy to say, "Well, you know what? I don't have a lot of time."
mhm.
Being outdoors, like, to go on a hike or a walk or, whatever, it takes time at the end of the
Mhm.
day. An
Yep.
hour, 2 hours even,
Yeah.
it's just like, that's a good portion of your day.
Yep.
So good for you for, like, actually doing it and staying consistent with it.
Yeah. Well, you gotta do the things that make you happy.
I think that that's true. Yeah, otherwise we go insane.
Yeah.
As we sacrifice all the stuff, I just think that, like, I don't know. Like, for me, I felt like in vet school, definitely. Less so before that.
Mhm.
Less so in, like, grad school, but, like, definitely vet school, and then definitely when I was doing all this work,
Mhm.
I just, I stopped writing music, I stopped,
Yeah.
producing stuff, I stopped, like, just writing in general, and yeah, you can feel it.
Mhm.
It's something it's just like yeah, it's just like if you're gonna be sitting on a cliff and looking out at the ocean, but then, like, the ocean disappears. It
Mhm.
just becomes all dried up.
Yeah.
Just something is off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you were saying with music, like I stopped reading.
Oh, yeah.
And I my entire life have been like a voracious reader. And
Yeah.
like I just stopped reading. I couldn't even tell you the last book I read. And then my mom shipped me my Harry Potter books. And
Nice.
I was like, okay, like this is an easy thing for me to like pick up and like get done, but like just to reset my brain.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not like it's gonna take a whole bunch of concentration for me to do because I know the freaking story by heart, like,
Right.
but like, and so I'm literally just finishing up one of like the first book. So,
Nice.
but it's like, just to
You
put that
do.
back in your life.
Yes. It legitimately is about, like, just starting
Yeah.
something and not necessarily shaming yourself. Like, yeah, sure, like, it's not Dickens or whatever,
Right. Right.
But
Like,
it's like, why challenge yourself with something like that
I
right
just
out of the gate
want to,
again?
like, do something that I know I will enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah,
Simple
yeah,
as
yeah.
that. Like,
Right.
it shouldn't be complicated, right? But, like, we somehow make it complicated because
Yeah.
and then somehow it becomes shameful because we're feeling like we're putting off something else that we should be doing. I'm like,
Right.
there's no shame in doing something you enjoy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, exactly. Man, yeah, whenever I go back to San Diego, when I go surfing, I like get I don't know, it's just one of these things. Like I grew up doing it, right? So
mhm.
there's like a piece of it that is really natural, but then there's the other piece of it that it's still like an athletic activity that
Yeah.
requires
Uh-huh.
things that you should probably be practicing to be good at it.
Yeah.
So like I'll go out and I'll try to like go to like the bigger breaks or do all
Mhm.
these things that like I have no business being at right
Right.
now. And then
Yeah.
I get really frustrated with myself. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I don't want to surf ever again.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Totally.
but like recently I've been trying to, and by recently I mean over the past couple of years, it's like when I
Uh-huh.
go back, it's just like just go to the little tiny waves and take
Dink
like the
around, like, yeah,
right. Have
have
fun
fun
with
with
it.
it.
Cause like the water over the front of the board, like splashing in your face, like
Yeah.
that's why you're out there.
It's
It's
therapeutic.
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%.
So
It's
good
like
for
I
you.
yeah. And, like, I recently to the same similar, like, point, I recently started riding again because I hadn't ridden in
Mm,
any consistency over the past 5 years.
yeah.
10 if we're really being honest, like,
Right.
I rode a little bit in vet school, but not a ton, and, like, I'm consistently back on a horse, and it's the same thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the first, probably month or so, I was just don't even think about it. Like, don't even think about it. Just get on the horse. Like, because like I know that I'm gonna be super critical about it, and like I'm gonna get frustrated, and then that affects the horse because it's a living, breathing being.
Right.
And like, just get on the horse and go ride.
Right.
Like, you don't need to be going to the Olympics today. Like,
Right.
just go ride, and it's so much better that way.
Yeah.
So it's like just do it. Like, and just the act of sitting on the board, sitting on the horse, makes you happy.
Yeah. Yeah, channel something that like even beforehand you could not have possibly guessed that it would channel
Right.
in you. Yeah, as I'm sitting there on the even as I'm standing there on the beach with the board
Hmm.
under my arm now, like there's actually a bit of trepidation and I'm just like, what the hell am I doing? But like the moment that I decide, you know what, here we go, and you like
Yeah.
start walking in, you're like,
Yep.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily it's like it's still frustrating. There's still
Yeah.
bits of it that are absolutely frustrating. Like the board flies off and I'm like, I don't know why I made that mistake or whatever.
Right.
But there's still like something, joyous in it or
Yeah.
peaceful in it.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%. And like those are the moments that we have to remember. And I'm working on that. So
That's a lifetime quest, I believe.
exactly.
What I mean, of all of this, like this path is not an easy one,
Mm-mm.
right? I mean, like there's plenty of times where you could like eject out and just be like, and I'm going to be whatever, an engineer. Actually, I'm going to forget what I just said, but that's a good point. Like, was there anything else ever on the table for you?
No.
Okay.
Nope. It and I am like, I don't know if I am one of the lucky in that sense
Right.
or not, because like I literally never, like, it was like straight and narrow always.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like no divergence whatsoever. So like
Yeah.
maybe I would have had other really cool interests. I don't know. Like I never fucked around to find out. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah.
and so I don't know. Maybe, but it probably would have been some sort of science base because that is like where globally my interests lie.
Sure.
But I
Yeah.
don't know.
There is something about like if it's like, all right, let's just start mining into this mountain. You're like, all right, and you just sort of just
Yeah.
keep chipping away
Right. Right.
until one day you like get to the other side, or not. I don't know. I mean, there are people that we know who are like still stuck in the chipping away at the mountain bit.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's interesting. God, that's awesome. I mean, I actually do envy that because I never really had like one thing where I was just like, I'm gonna do
Right.
this forever. I
Yeah.
don't have that kind of fortitude.
Yeah.
So it is,
I don't know if I'm lucky or not. Like I truly don't know because it's
yeah,
never like there's just never been anything else.
right.
Just it.
Well, in this entire process, maybe what I was going to ask, although it's impossible to know because my brain is a sieve at this point. but but like in this, process of that has been very difficult to get to
Mhm.
this thing. Like, what are some things that you've like learned about you, like learned
Mm.
about yourself?
Oh, man, I mean, it takes a hell of a thing to break me. I haven't been broken yet, so and they have tried.
Yeah,
So I am a lot stronger than I ever thought I was. So
that's awesome.
that's yeah. I mean, there are very few things that at this point could get thrown at me that are going to majorly phase me.
Mm,
So, and like that has become a huge benefit.
yeah,
Like okay, well, we'll get it done.
sure. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it is something that is for sure learned,
Hmm.
and I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
So, like, well, we'll get it done. Like,
yeah,
just keep on trucking.
yeah.
So, head down, eyes forward. We'll get it done.
Which is good to know. I mean, like, it's really good to know about yourself. You know what's interesting is as you say that, like, maybe I do feel similar. I mean, I guess like we've all gone through our tribulations to whatever extent, and like we
Hmm.
haven't, like, none of us have been broken by them yet.
Yeah.
Um, like, yeah, sure, they damage you, and I feel like I've definitely, maybe I'm wrong, but like for me, I feel like um my amount of empathy has decreased just
Hmm.
being in the profession of, especially emergency, and especially
Yeah.
where you're like surrounded by these kind of horrific things that happen pretty
Yeah.
constantly. Um, I don't think that I'm not sure that it's a bad thing yet. I
Yeah.
think I've like created ways to deal with some of these things.
Yeah.
Um, while, it's like survival mechanisms, but
Totally.
also like being able to still care about the people. It's like you're just developing tools to like deal with the world around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting point about the empathy thing. Because so much of what we do is empathy, right? Like we're freaking hemorrhaging it some days.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm definitely better at it with like clients probably than I am with the people I work with,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. So you're more, as in like you give them more empathy, the
Yeah,
clients?
I think so. Well, because it's also like, it's like your work persona,
Right.
like
Yeah.
you have your work face
Yeah.
and then you have like your face after the client leaves the room or whatever. And like the empathy goes with the work face,
Sure. Yeah, it's a part of the
right?
gig. Yeah.
And then like that face comes down and then you're like fucking as like afterwards, right? And like or as soon as the phone hits the click and
Right.
then like the voice changes, the face changes, the language changes, like and I think we probably as a group of people actually like all do that to a degree.
Right.
Like we give all the empathy to the patients and the clients, and then we're probably a lot less patient with each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I think that you're right. I think that, yeah, because you can't be open all the time
Right.
because you're just gonna like just hemorrhage
Right.
yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then that's how you like end up in some deep hole. I'm certain of it. So it's like, yeah, you got to shut down at some point. But it's like, of the two of those, doesn't it seem to make more sense to be empathetic and protect your team
Absolutely.
than it necessarily? And maybe it's a couple of things. Like maybe it's like, hey, we're all in this together. It's like you get it. Maybe it's we see them all
Right.
the time. Maybe it is that it's just like like you said, it's like back to back. It's, you're dealing with the client and you have to give all of this, and then like as soon as you come back from that, now you're dealing with your teammate, but you have to like shut down in that moment.
Right.
That's wild. So then what? So what do we do?
I don't know. I don't know. And like, but that's also like a huge problem we have in our industry in general, right? Like
Yeah.
emotional regulation is not something we're good at.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
in general, as a type of person. Like
Right.
we're just not good. Like we're not good at that. And it's hard
Yeah.
because like we're constantly just like it's just pulled from us.
Yeah. Yeah, we are the type of people who can get something done. It's like we've proven that by being here.
Right.
Everything was sort of the odds were always stacked against
Mhm.
every veterinarian. The odds are stacked against becoming a veterinarian, right? so, so
Yeah.
it's like they've shown that they can do the thing. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Like emotionally, I mean, I would argue probably all of us as people. I mean, it's just a difficult thing to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially without help. But you're right. I mean, as this profession, gosh. So what do we do? I don't know what to do.
I don't know. I don't know, but I'm working on being kind to myself. And it probably starts there.
Yeah,
Because if you can't like be kind to yourself, how can you continuously be kind to other people?
right. Yeah, that's true. I think that you're right. I mean, you have to, just like when on a plane, right? You have to give yourself the oxygen mask before you, put it on the child next to
Yeah.
you. It's like you have to save yourself first because then you just won't. Otherwise, you're not going to have the strength to help
Right.
anybody else.
Yeah.
And then, maybe it is a step in figuring, okay, well, I know that I've done these steps for myself,
Hmm.
and then I see, this other person is suffering from whatever it is, like I can help in that way.
Right.
Like a super easy one is like from my side is, when we switch over cases, right? Like
Hmm.
shifts change.
Hmm.
7 at 7 p.m. or whatever. When I come in for my overnight shift, you better bet like I'm gonna do everything in my power to get the other person out there
Right.
as soon as possible. And that's not necessarily like oh, wow, like what a kind, empathetic person who like thought about it's like, no, like I know that I wouldn't want to be stuck there. And I've been in that place and I've had to make the decision to get the hell out of there. And
Hmm.
and that's a hard thing, like to be able to say, no, I'm not sticking around. You're gonna take this case is difficult.
Yeah.
So then like the quote unquote empathy in that moment actually is just me being like, I've been in your position. Let me just make it a little bit easier for you.
100%. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, you're right. Be kind to yourself first.
Yeah.
Good for you. I'm actually really happy that you're in the place that you're at. It sounds like you're doing pretty good,
Thanks. I mean,
right?
same to you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Man, we're like five, whatever, 5-ish, 5.5-ish years out.
Yeah. It's gonna be 6 soon.
It's wild. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah, in a couple of months, it'll be 6. Jeez Louise.
Really soon.
And I
It's
wonder if
crazy. It's wild. And like, yeah, like life is finally happening.
Mhm.
Like life is always happening, right? But like
Yeah,
where you're just a cog kind of like just in the part of it and whatever. But like now it's kind of yeah, like I was saying before, like I've never had this freedom and it's
yeah,
really cool.
yeah. It's wild to think that we're at the beginning of it.
Mhm.
I mean, you in a very immediate way because, like, you're just, what, like
Yeah.
9 months ago, you started
Yeah.
this part of this journey.
Yeah.
But it still feels that way. I mean, for me in a way, it
Mhm.
feels like it's the beginning
Yeah. Yeah,
somehow.
I mean it is. It also blow like it's a really weird juxtaposition when I see like people I know that are in their like maybe mid 20s or something like that
Mhm.
have like bought homes and have been like
Right.
working in their field for the last however many years and like
Yeah.
have all of this like security
Yeah.
and I'm just like most of my friends that are not like that I grew up with, let's say, like that are non-veterinary or non-medical associated, like they've been working in their whatever field they're working in for the last 10 plus years
Yeah.
and like have established lives. And I'm just
Right.
um, like, help.
Yeah, it's hard not to feel behind. It
Yeah.
it is. But, at the same time, there it's like by whose timeline?
Right. Right.
You
Which is the thing I try to remind myself of. Exactly. Like I've accomplished a lot of things in that time too.
Yes.
So they're just
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, sure, like, we haven't been able to, like, put the same money in the bank, or we haven't been
Yeah.
able to, whatever, check the same to-do list items off of a, whatever,
Hmm.
the life list. But there's a lot of other experiences that we've had also.
Hmm.
I mean, I think about this a lot, it's like I feel behind in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
but then I just have to sort of stop and think about all the other things that I've actually done
Yeah.
too. I don't know. It's not a competition. I mean, right to your point, it's just like, yes, there's all these other people. I have friends who are going to retire,
Yeah. Crazy.
or
Right.
are retired, and they're my age. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
like, I'm like just now contributing to a 401k.
Right.
You know?
I'm not even there yet. Like,
Right. Right. But, I mean, it's kind of cool to be at the beginning of something
yeah.
and also have accomplished a lot of things
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Yep.
It's an exciting point.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
then what
I just got to be okay with having like zero money in the bank, which it'll get there eventually, I guess. Right.
I guess. Yeah, save your pennies, I
Yeah.
suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I think that, like, no matter what, I was just talking to a friend about this too. No matter what, there is something about, like, the more you make, the more you can spend too.
Hmm.
It's like then you buy a house and you have a car
Right.
and then you have, like, a kid or whatever, and it's like all these that's where all the money goes.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, so I'll, like, look at my account and still be like, I don't I don't know, where
Right.
is it?
Yeah. Where did it go?
We have a financial advisor, and
Uh-huh.
he's kind enough to remove the student loans from the from the net worth calculation. So it's like, look at that positive net worth. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God, I just can't even with student loans.
yeah,
It just is, right? Like I will be paying it back for the remainder of my life, or majority of the remainder of my life, most
yeah,
likely.
yeah.
And like it just is. Like there's nothing I can do about it. I've done everything I can do about it.
Right.
The only thing I could have done was stayed in academia and done public loan forgiveness, which I was like a part of, and that was honestly my plan
Oh,
till um until I got towards the end of residency. And I was just like, I cannot stay in academia any longer.
yeah,
Can't do it.
yeah. I
And maybe
understand
I'll
that.
go back. And like, I only need 6 more years to like qualify for public loan forgiveness.
It is nice to then just take a moment and have some control, and then make some decisions. Like, I mean, you can use this as a pause and figure out, is it what you want
Hmm.
moving forward, and what I mean, yeah, because the other bit is just money. I mean, and at a certain point, you
Yeah.
have to make the decision, like you said, like it just is.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and I can't, for me too. It's like I have a lot of student loans. It's like I can't control, or I can't control that piece.
Hmm.
Yes, I can work a ton, like a ton, like
Right.
try to pay that
Right.
down and
Hmm.
sacrifice the next, whatever, live on ramen and whatever for 10 years and try to like
But like that to me, it's not worth it. That's not
exactly.
worth it. Like some people think it is, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But like
Yeah.
that is not worth it to me.
Yeah. And it just goes back to that same thing about leaving a job or not, right? It's
Hmm.
just about the choice. Like,
Yep.
what's worth it to you?
Yeah.
Is it better to work a job that you love, knowing that you're going to have to pay off you're going to, get it forgiven and have to pay off a tax bomb and have that always over your head? Or is it to work a job that you kind of hate
Yeah.
and like get that out of the way?
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it's not worth it either.
No, thank you.
So then moving forward, I mean, now that you're in this position where you're like kind of finding yourself
Hmm.
and, being an adult, like
Yeah.
with like
Like a
freedom
real
and
adult. Yeah.
choice. Yeah. Do you have like specific things that over the next couple of years you want to really focus on, like with yourself, with your career, just, whatever?
Oh, really, like the basis of it is just like life experiences,
Nice.
like things that bring me joy, that like add value to my life. Like I
Yeah.
just because I haven't been able to do that in so long. Like making it to friends' weddings,
Yeah.
like just simple things like that. There are a bunch of like important things I've missed, like very important things in my life that I've missed, and I want to just not allow that to happen anymore. You know,
Yeah.
like yeah, I'll fly out for the weekend, or yeah, let's go to this music festival, or hey, yeah, let's go plan a trip somewhere. Like I want to say yes to things that make me happy and add value to my life. Because for so long I've had to say no without even giving it any consideration.
Yeah. Good. do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's I'm like so in support of that. It's like,
That's like
I
the big goal right now, in all honesty. Like that is like
yeah,
yes, let's go do it. Like I had a friend ask me the other day. She was like, "I think I'm gonna try and go to San Antonio for a weekend to get a tattoo. Like, would you want to come?" And I was like, "Yeah,
yeah,
sure,
that's amazing. I
let's go."
There's such value in that. I like when I was in vet school, I one of my best friends growing up, he got married over New Year's. It was on New Year's Eve. And like honestly, I could have gone. I was a third year. Melissa was a fourth year and she was on like some rotation. I want to say medicine
Mhm.
or something like that.
Mhm.
And like I stayed because I felt obliged to stay and like help
Mhm.
out. And school was starting up again like a few
Yeah.
days later, and like I didn't really have the money like because of
Yeah.
vet school and blah blah blah. I had a lot of reasons that I ultimately then said no.
Right.
um but like a couple of years ago we were talking, he's like, dude, you should have come to the wedding.
Yeah.
It meant a lot, like you should have been there.
Yeah.
And man, he told me that 6 years ago, and I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
And so since then, to your point, like when people say like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" If it's
Mhm.
something that it's like my uncle got married, and Lindsay's very pregnant,
Mhm.
and it's like it was coming off of a lot of days worked, and
Mhm.
I just didn't have that much time. But it was like
Yeah.
it's actually important. Like this is
Yeah.
important. We're gonna do it. I'm gonna say yes.
Right.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah. And
Good
like
for you.
blocking myself off on our like, schedule is an entirely foreign concept to me. Entirely foreign. The first time I did it, I was like, I literally was like, so our like hospital manager, I guess is the term, slash
Yeah.
like she's also one of the internists. It was actually like after boards. I was like, so my exam was a Monday, Tuesday, and I was like, I'll take off Wednesday and then I'll be back Thursday. And she looks at me and she's like, just take the rest of the week.
Right.
And I was like, I can do that? Like, this was the conversation. She was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." She's like, "Just take the rest of the week."
That's
She's like, "You're gonna be exhausted. Just, like, do whatever you want for the rest of the week and come back Tuesday." Like,
yeah.
"Oh, okay." Like, "That's great, thanks." Because like, my first board exam, it was like I asked for the day off. Like, so the exam was like a Monday or Tuesday. It was just like a one day. And then I asked for, let's say, Wednesday off just to like sleep,
Right.
you know?
Decompress.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then like I would come back Thursday and they denied me that.
Yeah.
I took my exam and was on call and worked a full day the next day.
Also good for this person who, like, told you, maybe just take the extra day,
Yeah.
like, watching out for you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's I mean, she's been through it. She's an internist. Like, she knows.
Right. I'm really happy that you are where you are. It
Yeah.
sounds like you got a good team. You
Yeah.
have good like, a good sort of, I don't know, life, perspective, and,
Yeah.
some goals and reshifting and all that kinda stuff. It's a hard transition point, and I think that you're, in a good place for it right now.
Thanks. I feel the same way about it. So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
it's pretty
Well,
awesome.
I mean, this is a good, point for me to end the podcast, I guess.
No, sounds great.
And that was my episode and conversation with Lindsay Knott. Yeah, we covered a lot of ground. The initial bit was, residency and internship, and a lot of that. It's hard. It's a difficult journey for sure, and it's nice to see, this specific view within that route. Equine surgery and all of that. But what I specifically find interesting is kind of the lessons learned along the way, right? Like, yeah, it's a difficult journey, it's an arduous process. And you look at these mentors as, they're some of them are great, some of them are less great. And there's a lot of mistakes that are made, and it's just like we're all human, right? So as the pupil, it's not really our job just to kind of gain the information, but also to transform and let that process turn you into the doctor that you're going to be. Um, so it's just really nice to see her window into that. I did just kind of briefly want to give a quick little shout out to Michigan. Hello, Michigan. I talk about being from California, which is true. I mean, my history is Californian. I think about California as home, but I was born in Michigan. I was born in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which, for those of you who understand, it is the fourth metacarpal on the little mitten hand. Michigan, Michigan is um, Michigan. Basically, if the United States was like raising the roof in celebration, Michigan would be, up at the top doing all of the gesticulating. So I appreciate that about Michigan. Really, Michigan is the true hero here. So, but just wanted to toss a little bit of love Michigan's way. Um, I am actually going to be trying something new because that's life, right? We should be trying something new all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have a separate kind of reflections episode, just kind of looking at the lessons that we went through in this episode and some thoughts, and then ideally some kind of things that you can take with you and go on with your life and put them in your little pocket, and who knows when you're gonna pull them out and use them, like a subway token that you find just sort of jangling around. You're like, wait a second, I could use this. Lexington and Third, please. Uh, so, I'm going to go ahead and release that. The way I'm going to try to do it is, 1 week release these conversations, the next week release that reflections episode, and then kind of on repeat there. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Also, for those of you who don't know yet, there is a website associated with this podcast, and I recently revamped it. So if you could go to thegreatestprofession.com or tgppod.com, just check it out. I'm evolving all of that, just trying some new things out there. But if all the episodes now have show notes, and if there's specific things that we kind of talked about or references, I'm trying to throw that up there just so you guys can reference it later on. Again, thegreatestprofession.com. Not super hard to remember. Also, my contact information is out there. So just drop me a line if you have any questions or thoughts or anything. I definitely appreciate it. So enjoy. Thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Knott, for talking to me. And then, with that, may all of your cilantro give you wonderful, fragrant herbs and not turn into flowers and seeds like mine have. This has been a harrowing tale of cilantro, the death of my herb garden. So, anyway, thank you again. And until next time, have a wonderful week.